All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here for the Board of County Commissioner meeting for 1/7/2020. Happy New Year. I know we're all off to a great new year. So with that, we could please rise for the invocation of the pledge.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey. Here. District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Here.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay. This time, it's time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any item coming before the board during the public comment section. The board also takes public comment on items to be placed on a future board agenda or other business under their purview. Public comment of the public hearing items are taken during those individual public hearings beginning at 1:30 p.m. It is requested that when you address the board, that comments are not directed personally against any commissioner or team member, but rather directed at the issues. This provides a mutual respect between the board and members of the public. Individuals speaking during public comment are given 3 minutes to speak. After stating your name and address for the clerk, the timer located on the podium will start a countdown. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound. The light on the timer will change from green to yellow, letting you know that only 1 minute remains. After that time, and the 2 beeps will sound, the light on the timer will change from yellow to red, indicating 3 minutes are up, and you will, or you should actually close your comments at that time. So do I have a list?
The list is being signed.
If you did not sign up, you'll have time at the end. I'll call for additional comments.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
The first 3 people signed up to talk, I have, is it Liana Dean, James Russell, Larry Lewis, if you could please line up to talk. Thank you.
Morning. Name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name's Liana Dean. I work at 7809 Massachusetts Avenue in Newport Richey. I'm chair of the Pasco County Commission on Human Trafficking, and today we have before you a resolution. And I just wanted to say thank you to the Board of County Commissioners for their ongoing support of the Pasco County Commission on Human Trafficking and for declaring January 2020 National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month in Pasco County. As I'm sure you all are aware, human trafficking continues to be an ongoing problem both in the state of Florida and here in Pasco County. In 2018, Florida again ranked 3rd in the nation in the number of cases of human trafficking. And just so you all are aware, we have continued with our efforts to educate and make the community aware. We have trained over 10,000 people in Pasco County and across the state on the issue. We've spoken at forums across the state, most recently at the Human Trafficking Summit in Orlando. We have also reached over 1.5 million people with our marketing and advertising campaigns, which I think is pretty significant. And we led the state in terms of getting human trafficking curricula into schools, for which I would like to thank our superintendent for his partnership in that effort. We led the state in terms of getting curricula into all of our 6th and 9th grade classrooms ahead of the state rule, a year in advance of what the rest of the state was doing. So we wanted to say thank you and update you on that. We are also working on addressing the upcoming Super Bowl that will be in Tampa in 2021. So we will be launching several campaigns around educating the public about that and preventing trafficking from happening here in Pasco County and partnering with other trafficking task forces in the area, and also supporting law enforcement efforts to arrest traffickers and buyers of sex trafficking here in the area. So we do have several events that are upcoming that we wanted to make you aware of. One is on January 27th at PHSC, and the other will be at Our Lady Queen of Peace Church on February 6th. So I've shared some flyers with Commissioner Oakley's office, and I know he'll be sharing those with you as well. We wanted to make sure that you and the public are aware of those. So thank you so much from all of us at the Commission for your ongoing support of this important issue.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hey,
Can we turn the mics up just a little bit? You having trouble in the back? Yeah. We can just get them up just a little bit, please.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak?
Go ahead.
I'm a part of the Human Trafficking Commission, And on behalf of the commission, we'd like to invite all the commissioners, each and every one of you, to the event they got coming up on February 6th. I'll pass these out. Receive and file. I'll make a motion.
Move to receive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you.
Okay. We would appreciate it if y'all could attend. So the human trafficking has done a great job over the years that we've been a part of that, and I'm telling you, they've been nationally acclaimed for all the good work they've done, and they've been recognized all over the country. I think they have people wanting to copy us because we've done such a good job in Human Trafficking Commission here in Pasco County, and they continue to do that work. So that's all I need to say.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, Madam Clerk?
So, James Russell, and then Larry Lewis, if you could line up behind him. Following is Jacob
Good morning.
Brunel.
My name is James Russell. I'm here on behalf of Oaks Royal 3,
Address, please.
5419 Antigua Drive,
Thank you.
Zephyr Hills. I have called Public Works, Roads and Bridges numerous times. I've never got a call back. I even left my number to call me back. I asked to speak to Mr. Bozeman, but he was on vacation. I asked when he was going to be back. They told me the following week. So I called back the following week. He extended his vacation. So I said, who could I talk to about this problem that took his place? Couldn't get a hold of him that he would be back on the road, have him call me, but never got back to me. Now we're having problems with water washing into our properties from the road behind us, Riles Road. We're having a dust problem. I mean, I don't know who to contact.
Okay, so,
They're in the other side.
Charles can get
Where's
get
it?
with Charles.
okay, this gentleman right here will walk to the side with you and have a discussion with you, sir. Right there. Yep.
Okay,
Thank you. Next.
Mr. Lewis.
Good morning. Name and address for the record, please.
I'm Larry Lewis. I live at 37339 Northside Drive, Zephyr Hills, Florida. I was in here last month, and I was talking to you concerned about we're trying to get 2 roads blacktopped in our area, Coolwood and Kyle, and they're actually considered as cut-through roads from 301 to Fort King. We got a lot of traffic on them 2 roads, I turned in a petition 2 years ago to get these roads blacktopped. Long process trying to get it done. But anyway, we're at the point now for exemptions, and I was in here last month to talk to you about the exemptions, and a gentleman, Mr. Cabela, got with me, but I haven't heard a word since. So I know we had holidays and stuff, and I'd like to find out how we're proceeding.
Again, so remember, we don't do back and forth from the dais, but we will point you to the same gentleman that she just did, and he can get back to you. But yes, you're correct.
Okay.
It was the holidays, and some people were out, so.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, sir.
Following our next speaker is Andrew DeGill and Eric Garduno.
Good morning. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Jacob Brunel, Governmental Affairs Manager, Greater Tampa Realtors, 2918 West Kennedy Boulevard. I would like to request to pass out a handout to the
Motion
county
received and
commissioners.
filed.
Second.
Well, I can't make a motion. Somebody make a motion.
Move to receive.
Thank you.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Just hand it to the clerk. Or him.
Thanks, Eric. That was close.
As an association of 12,000 members spanning Hillsborough and Pasco County, we have many members who work and live across county lines. In this regard, we believe the draft ordinance could be more convenient registering owners and landlords under the state implementation and triggering timeframes proposed. We offer the following concerns and remedies. Under Section 18160 definitions, the registrable property treatment of a vacancy is concerning with a trigger of only 30 days or cancellation of services, whichever occurs first. Although it is understandable why the sheriff's office would want a quick trigger, we believe that 60 days or 30 days after cancellation of services, whichever occurs first, is more practical and will truly target the problem properties instead of adding unnecessary paperwork. Furthermore, the definition of vacant has us concerned as to what lawfully occupied means. For example, is running a few cows on a large acreage lawfully occupying and removing it from vacancy? We believe this should be more transparent. As is also concerned with the registration requirements, section 1862, targeting a date of March 1st, 2020. This seems like an aggressive approach, as most citizens don't know it's coming and will not know if their properties fit the ordinance requirements. There are doubts that this can be properly implemented by June 1st, which would assume that the county is already prepared and advertising aggressively as our association assists in notifying the community. In addition, March 20th is too soon for vacant properties, and allowing only 10 days of vacancy before registry seems too quick. We believe that this 10-day requirement should increase to 30 days for a more effective timeline. Furthermore, section 1863 should allow for the option of Pasco residing owners to designate a property manager as the primary contact. In addition, this section appears to be unduly restrictive based on excluding property managers not based in Pasco County. We request that the ordinance allow property managers from neighboring counties. Lastly, the 1864 exemption list at the end of section 3 clearly intends to focus on residential properties of 1 to 4 units and all vacant lands. We would like to see a more detailed description of commercial rental property. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, please. Name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Dugill, and I live at 3900 Westdale Avenue in Tampa, Florida. I'm here today as a professional property manager, and also I am a current board member of the Tampa Bay chapter of the National Association of Residential Property Managers. We represent professional managers of single-family rental properties. Our organization is here to speak in favor of the rental ordinance. We recognize that the Sheriff's Department has a problem with vacant properties, with slumlords, so we're very much in favor of that. We do have a couple of concerns with the ordinance as written. The first one is the requirement that the property manager maintains a business office in Pasco County. Many of the properties, the residential properties in Pasco County, are managed by property managers in Hillsborough, Pasco, and Hernando. So requiring a business office in Pasco County will cause thousands of current landlords in the county to lose their professional management, which is obviously an unintended consequence and is not the intent of the ordinance. The second issue we have is the definition of a property manager. As written, it seems to allow a property manager to be unlicensed in violation of Florida statutes. We suggest that requiring the property manager to be licensed by the state is the way to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Eric Garduno. My address is 8631 Turnberry Circle, Sarasota, Florida. I am the Government Affairs Director for the Bay Area Apartment Association. Bay Area represents over 190,000 units throughout the Tampa Bay area, including units in Pasco County. Our membership includes apartment community owners, apartment community managers, and suppliers who support the apartment industry, such as roofers and pavers. We had gotten wind of the ordinance that is going to be discussed by the county attorney during miscellaneous comments back in December, and reached out directly to the county attorney's office, Christy Sims, and the county attorney's office in particular. We did see in that ordinance, as originally drafted, several issues that came to our attention as apartment communities being able to keep up with the registry, let alone just generally participating in it, seemed onerous to us. What we were able to share with the county attorney, and would like to share with you as well today, is that actually, bless you, apartment communities, 5 units and above, are preempted by state law. Under state law, there is a requirement for apartment communities to register with the state, and regulation of apartment communities is done via the state. And so bless you, anything above
keep going, so.
5 units or above
I don't get anywhere.
is preempted by state law per 509.032. Happy to provide some documentation on that as well. And we had that conversation about the preemption, as well as, you know, our general concerns with the ordinance with the county attorney's office. We were able to work out various thoughts and ideas. I think the county attorney will present some of those ideas, including an exemption section that would take apartment communities 5 units and above out of the scope of the registry. I will just note that in our experience, we have worked with other municipalities in the region, and thank you. And the exemption that has been built in, or at least the draft that we've seen, seems to be in line both with what the preemption requires and what your municipalities in the region have also done in terms of exempting the apartment communities out. For instance, Newport Richey expressly references the preemption. The city of Temple Terrace has apartment communities just listed in the ordinance as exempted. There's a variety of ways to approach it, but we appreciate the work that the county attorney has done, working with us and trying to find ways to address our issues, and we definitely support the edits that I think she'll present later today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's 2 final speakers signed up. That's Harry Heeg and Carl Stratton.
If you did not sign up and would like to speak, I will ask that you line up at this time. If you're not lined up, I will cut off public comment with the last person.
Good morning, and
One second. Thanks. Anybody else want to speak? Okay. Mr. Harding, you're the last person. Oh,
Well, he signed up.
okay. All right, that's it. Go ahead.
thank you. Good morning, Happy New Year. My name is Harry Heist, and I live at 13 Baywood Court in Fort Myers, Florida. I'm an attorney. I'm a landlord-tenant law attorney, and I work for actually thousands of apartment communities and property managers all throughout Florida, and the majority of them in Pasco County. The reason I'm here today is in support of the rental registration ordinance with some changes. Some of you have heard them already. First of all, one of the most important changes is the requirement for a business office in Pasco County. And what I did today is we brought with us, they're not going to speak today, but we brought with us a number of property managers who are all licensed professional property managers of single-family homes, duplexes, triplexes, and some of them have their primary office in Hernando County, Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, Polk County. So just wanted to let you know there's a lot of people who do manage in Pasco County, but their primary office is outside of Pasco County. So we are in favor of the ordinance, but we would like to have some sort of a geographical requirement, and also so that they can continue to manage properties. The other really big issue is the ordinance fails to define property manager. And a lot of people don't realize that there's 2 types of property managers out there in the world. There are licensed property managers who have real estate license or work under a broker, and then there are unlicensed people. The unlicensed property managers that manage for the absentee owners have caused serious problems in Pasco County and all over Florida. So we would ask that the ordinance is amended or to properly define property manager as someone who holds a license to manage property in Florida. We feel that it will cut down on a lot of problems, and this is what will help the problems that you are trying to address, to have licensed people, not unlicensed people who are a friend, relative, or whoever of some absentee owners who oftentimes do not care about their property, they don't care what's going on the property, and you're unable to contact those people when there's a problem. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Carl Stratton, 2416 Blind Pond Avenue in Lutz. I'm the broker of Dennis Realty and Dennis Property Management. We have 2 offices located in Pasco County, one in Lutz and another one on Meridian Avenue right here. We currently manage about 500 units in Pasco County, but our office also manages properties in Pinellas, Hernando, Citrus, and Hillsborough County. So I feel like this ordinance would, I'm actually in favor of it, but by putting the requirement that professional property managers, which we have so many of them here, would have to be outside, would have to have an office inside the county, I think would be a big hardship for a lot of owners. Like Andrew said, thousands and thousands of property owners who have trusted relationships with their property managers. And like Harry said, there's a big difference between people that say they're property management or do property management and professional property management. Our company's been in business since 1973. We manage over 1,100 properties currently for people, you know, locally, nationally, and internationally. And you know, I really think that if there was an ordinance for professional property management, some type of licensing requirement for people that are doing property management, that I think we'd all be in favor of something like that. And I think a 50-mile radius would make a lot of sense for the property management company would need to be within like a 50-mile radius of the property. That would be reasonable, in my opinion. Anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. Dave Sigler, 11204 Wynn Road, Riverview, Florida. Commissioners, good morning again, and thank you for the opportunity. I currently own a property management business located in Brandon, Florida. For over 10 years, we've managed properties in the surrounding 5 counties of Polk, Pinellas, Hillsborough, and all the way up into Hernando, and even some down into Sarasota County. We're very aware of compliance issues in those, from registration of the particular units for certain cities, like cities of St. Pete as well as Tampa. So when it comes to compliance, we're very much in tune with that. What I didn't add here as well is I'm also the 2019 president of NARPM, National Association of Property Managers, and I believe the relevance there is that I'm very much in tune with what is going on around our state as well as going on nationally with issues such as this. And that also echoes on having a licensed professional involved with this process. We do our best to maintain our licenses through legal compliance, and we also understand that same thing applies to property management. So we're very much in tune with complying with what you're asking for and understand the reason for the ask. However, in an effort to accomplish the bigger goal, you know, my state license allows me to do real estate anywhere in the state of Florida. So limiting me to a county is somewhat restrictive, especially when I have the ability to manage 5 counties and have demonstrated that for over 10 years. The licensed professional, I think, without being redundant, is a critical key here, because without that necessary compliance of the license, there's very little likelihood that they're going to be compliant with whatever you're bringing forward at this point. The other issue that might be in play there is just those 2, I believe, forgive me, is the distance as well as the licensing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Last up, name and address for the record, please.
Jeremy Harding, 10028 Grove Drive, Port Richey, Florida. Good morning. I'm taking a good chunk of my day to drive across the county to ask the board for some help. I was offered a meeting on the 14th, which I took as completely blowing me off and asking, as I asked for this meeting back on December 4th. This is not the first time my emails have gone unanswered for weeks or even months. Commissioner Mariano and Wells have worked hard to try to fix these issues I'm going to discuss, and I want to thank them for that. Sorry. It seems that your staff doesn't listen to board members as individuals. I have been trying to expand my business, and I'm trying to hire more people and with great paying jobs. Not minimum wage positions, these are careers. My problem is the overwhelming red tape. The red tape that has cost me many nights of lost sleep, to this point about $35,000 in county fees and 3 engineers later. Not to mention the cost of owning a building that I cannot use for over a year. All I want is to have more office space to expand my business. I thought I was doing it the right way. I purchased a building on Little Road next to my current location. I went to the county and started the zoning process. That went fairly smooth, except for some outrageous requirements that they tried to hold me to, which I was able to overcome. The problem all starts when I got to the building and site plan. I am being treated as if I am Walmart building a brand-new building. I have had to provide letters from the power company stating they would supply power to a building that they have supplied power to for 21 years. I have had to add bicycle racks to a building that I do not want the general public coming to. I've had to rip out existing concrete parking and build a monstrosity of a parking lot just to comply with county codes. I could go on and on with crazy requirements, but I'm now down to them wanting me to put a retention pond in. I have a geoengineer that has strongly urged against that due to the underlying rock beneath my property, stating that it could cause sinkholes, and it's a remediated property already. I need your help obtaining a permit because your codes do not require this, and Will Poon just makes some of this stuff up from my experience. Will Poon does not understand or even care the astronomical cost associated with some of these requirements. Just yesterday, your employee, Katie Vaccaro, lied to me on the phone after pulling my submission saying that I had no response in 60 days. She told me that Don Rosenthal was retired and that my email to him on the 4th was basically null and void because he was no longer with you, which I believe is incorrect. I was in communication waiting on response. I told her I was in communication waiting on response from Don, and she told me he was retired, and basically it didn't matter. I'm trying to make things nicer here in West Pasco. I am doing all of this and spending all my own money while I look around and Northwest Pasco is falling apart around me. I do not know if you guys have noticed the area is declining. I'm trying to help my hometown. I just recently bought a drug house across the street that has been there for 20 or 30 years.
Thank you. So this gentleman here, I would like, am I in the right spot here?
No, I got
Is he back? Oh, okay.
Brad and
Oh,
Esther are both
look, you
in
have
the
a whole
back with
team
Todd.
coming to you now.
Yeah,
Here.
there's a room next to us. They can sit down and talk through this with.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that ends public comment. We will move forward with resolutions. So we do have a very special resolution this morning. So if I could ask the Wiregrass Ranch High School Band to please come up and their instructors, along with, we have Superintendent Kurt Browning here and School Board Chairwoman.
Come on up front.
What's that? I'm sorry, what did you say?
Colleen.
Sorry.
Stopping. You need to keep coming.
Chairwoman Colleen Bowen.
Come to the podium there, out in front.
And I think I saw School Board Member Megan Harding here in the, if you would like to come up too.
Well, you guys.
So you guys, yeah, I got it, guys, I got it. Thank you. If you guys could go in front of the podium, and maybe you guys could help out, team. There we go. And then whoever the representative today is, I would assume. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here. What an awesome day it is. So we're going to go ahead and read the resolution first, and we have some comments, and obviously I'm going to allow you to make some comments.
I didn't ring
So I'm going to let everybody come up.
They look all like grown-ups.
Excellent. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Resolution number 20-057, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, congratulating the Wiregrass Ranch High School Marching Bulls for winning the Florida Marching Band 2019 Class 4A State Championship. Whereas Wiregrass Ranch High School is located in Wesley Chapel and is part of the Pasco County School System. And whereas the Wiregrass Ranch High School Band, known as the Marching Bulls, has 135 members comprised of students that reside in Pasco County. And whereas the Marching Bulls have previously competed in the Florida Marching Band Championships state finals in 2015, 2016, and 2018. And whereas on November 23, 2019, in Daytona Beach, Florida, the Marching Bulls earned the Class 4A state championship in the Florida Marching Band Championships for their program, the Red X. And whereas the Marching Bulls Band is the first marching band in Pasco County to win a Class 4A marching band state competition. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby congratulates the Wiregrass Ranch High School Marching Bulls for winning the Florida Marching Band 2019 Class 4A State Championship. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting the 7th day of January 2020.
Move approval.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Well, welcome. It's an exciting day.
Indeed.
Exciting day. I'm so happy you guys are here. We want to obviously congratulate each and every one of you on your accomplishments. I mean, that's a rarity. I don't have, is that a first here in Pasco?
Yeah, it is.
First in Pasco County too,
that's
to win the
great.
state championship. So we're so very proud of you. My daughter actually, if you know Aubrey, you know Aubrey Moore? You know Aubrey? Okay, you know Aubrey? Yes.
All
So
the
she
boys,
obviously
all
goes.
the boys raise their hand.
You know, you better watch. You know this is being recorded. And my mother's watching too.
Yeah.
Ron, so yeah, she goes to school, so I know she knows a lot of you too, but just a great accomplishment. So we're proud of you. We're happy to recognize you. And with that, if you want to say a few words, and if Superintendent or Chair wants to say a few words here.
Well, on behalf of all of us, just thank you so much for having us here today. The kids, they got to be out of class, so they probably would have been here either way. But no, we're all very, very excited and honored to be a part of this and to be recognized as not why we do it, but obviously it's a nice treat. So thank you again for having us. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you also very much. And I kind of apologize too. I know it is the first day of school, so I'm sorry. I'm giving you all a field trip.
Oh,
the
that's
first
okay.
day,
Yeah, they're fine.
Including the staff and the leadership. But Colleen or Superintendent Brown?
I have found a microphone I don't like yet. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of this commission, and I just want to, as superintendent of this district, want to personally thank Mr. Hobbs and Wiregrass Ranch High School Band. This is just one example of the great fine arts programs that we have in this district. Fine arts is critical to a well-rounded, robust education of the kids that we serve, or the families that we serve. We're getting bigger every day. We grew about 1,800 kids just alone this year throughout the district. But this program is being commended for their tenacity and their hard work that got them here. It just doesn't happen. So on behalf of our school board and our district, we want to congratulate Wiregrass Ranch High School Band for their accomplishments. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Come down. I know Commissioner Starkey had.
So for most of my life, I was a cheerleader, but I had a very special year, my junior year in high school, when I was on the flag corps of my high school in Miami. And I appreciate the hard work that you put in. So lots of hours practicing, and I'm sure you were in parades and all that. So I am especially appreciative of your hard work and what you have accomplished. So thank you very much.
You guys do an excellent.
Not an
I
instrument?
drive by the school all the time, or I'm there, and you're
don't
always
have an
there.
instrument, or-
You're always there.
No instrument.
You know, and we talk about band and whatever. I mean, these are musicians. I mean, these are excellent musicians, and I've heard you many a times at different events, and again, we appreciate you. Anybody else have anything else to say? If not, we'll go down and do a congratulations, and then we're going to do a photo. And we'll help arrange that photo because there's a lot of people. But we have a special resolution for you to hang up in your office here, and then we have individual ones for all of you and the rest of your bandmates. Okay? Oh yeah, we actually, in recognition of what you played, we put a red X by each of our names. Resolution.
Do you want us to stay back here?
Yeah, it's up to you if you want to go say hi real quick, then we'll come back up. I think that's what we're going to do, but if you want to stay up now, it's up to you. Yeah. Sorry to put you out for a day, but
All right, guys, let's just even this out a little, please.
Now, if we need it, we can have some take a lead.
I think.
Right in the way. If you can't see the camera can't see you.
Isn't it? One more time to get the 10 in. No, he got it. There you go. Guessing.
Stay put, don't move. Good. All right, guys, congratulations. Go to school.
Hey, have a good day, sir. Making some of that email, I'm like, that's it's just the thing that transportation is
Take care.
It's far, it's not like they can walk. Yeah, I did pay Michael Diggins, the boys on raising hand, there was no girl. I'm just kidding. Oh, she can take care of herself. She can take care of herself.
All right, we're just gonna wait a couple of seconds here. Okay, oh, I have an extra. Hey, Andy, I'm sorry. Spare, you can grab them. Then we won't have to need a short one if we don't give that to them. Okay, moving on, right? That was great. That was our only resolution today. We're gonna move on with consent. And we have, let me see here. 1, 2, 3. We have C26 as a withdrawal, C39 pull and revise, C42 pull and discuss. Any additional items that need to be pulled?
Seeing no one, move for approval. Second.
I have a motion, I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you. We will start with C26, well, that's a withdrawal, apologize. C39. C39.
Good morning. Charles Cullen, Utilities Engineering Director. This item is a contract to fix the Boyette Reservoir. The revision is a few last-minute items for the agreement with the contractor. This was anticipated with the holidays and with how important the reservoir is, we wanted to get it on today rather than waiting 2 weeks.
Okay, questions?
Move approval with the noted changes. Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you. C42.
That is me.
Discuss.
And Keith and our guest from Lightning, come on up. And we just wanted to say a special thank you to the Lightning for this program. And Keith, if you could go over it again and make sure everyone that's watching us on TV understands
absolutely.
what's coming. And we're so excited that we're here from the Lightning folks.
Good morning, Keith Wiley, Director of Parks, Recreation, Natural Resources. Today we're here for the board for consideration to approve the agreement with the Tampa Bay Lightning through their Community Development Hockey Program. We're going to be building with their partnership 2 street hockey rinks. I have some maps to show you exactly where those are going to be located. I won't steal their thunder like that. I won't steal their thunder to talk about the program. But anyway, thank you to Commissioner Starkey for introducing us and making us aware of this program. But Jay, I'll let you talk about the program.
We should give a shout out to Trey because he was instrumental in that.
Thank you, Keith.
Is that number up there a typo on the front?
Where?
That 240,000, is that period supposed to be a comma?
There's an extra zero there.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. We were fortunate enough as an organization 5 years ago, thanks to the National Hockey League, the National Hockey League Players Association, and our owner, Jeff Minnick, to embark on a program that we called Build the Thunder. That program had 5 different tenets and 5 different metrics under it. One of the major ones was that over a 5-year period, we committed to donate 100,000 Lightning logo street hockey sticks and balls to children within the 5 contiguous county area of Amalie Arena. And that we would also visit 500 primarily middle schools during that period and donate 500 complete sets of street hockey gear so that the schools could continue to have children playing long after we were gone. This is the start of that 5th year, and we have thus far donated 106,000 plus Lightning logo street hockey sticks and balls to 503 schools within the 5-county area. And as Bruce Springsteen once said, he said, I realized after I put all them people in all of them cars, I had to figure out some place for them to go. And about 3 years ago, we realized that after we distributed all those street hockey sticks and balls, that we had to have some place for youngsters to play. And so in the second round of the program that the NHL and the PA put together, we applied to do what we call Connect the Thunder. And basically that's a commitment to build 10 outdoor street hockey rinks, again in the 5 contiguous county area. And we're here today because we've reached an agreement with the county attorney, and we want to proceed to be able to build actually 2 of those ball hockey, street hockey rinks. We use those terms, street hockey and ball hockey, interchangeably, but we want to build 2 here in Pasco County. And that figure is correct, the 240. We build a 60 by 120 foot rink. Each rink is about $120,000, complete with scoreboard and everything you need for a good hockey rink. And then, in addition, which you'll see in the agreement, we also commit to help program that. So we'll come up here with our alumni and we'll have grand openings, and then we will also continue to help program it throughout the year. So we're excited about it. We appreciate everything that the county has done, and we certainly we look forward to working with you going forward. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you. Before you leave, I have to ask for the record your name and address, even though we know
Sure.
your name.
It's Jay Feaster, and the address is 118 Falling Water Drive in Brandon, Florida.
Thank you so very, very much. Anything else? I don't have it. You want to jump in?
Jay's done a great job.
Okay. You did a good job.
You know, when they first came up, they were going to do 1. But our county is so wide, and we have such interest in the county that they were so nice to agree to do 2. So I just can't tell you how excited our citizens are and our kids. And I'm really, really looking forward to this, and we're very grateful and very thankful. Looked like Commissioner Mariano wanted to say something.
If I could, yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Jay, you've been absolutely phenomenal since Mr. Vinnick and you have come into this region. Has been phenomenal. The product you put online, the commitment you make to the community, and this is just part of the commitment. They donate to all these charities every single week, every single game, and what you've done really elevated the whole Tampa Bay region has been phenomenal. And I know you work with our local people that play hockey, and from Gordy Zimmer to Matt Gary, and just trying to help hockey grow. And from someone who came from the Boston area, who's a huge Lightning fan now, I'm just delighted with what you've done, and I want to thank you. You've done a phenomenal job.
Thank you. I need a motion. Oh, go ahead,
What?
Commissioner Wells. I'm
And after
sorry.
that, I have one more.
Well, and then we're going to move on. So.
No, thank you very much, and I know I had seen some pictures of ones that they've done in other counties that I sent to Keith, and I tell you, Keith, it would really be great, Mr. Biles, if we could find a way to put roofs over these and have the big fans and make it to where folks could actually be in the shade. I know financially, but it would be nice for us to come up with a number for that, because it would be, not that I would expect the Lightning to pay for it, but they just, I think Sarasota, wherever, what county, I don't know what county that was. It was pretty awesome, and I just think that would be great to do here in the county. Maybe we can be creative.
We're building these with the ability to do that in the future, as funding becomes available.
But thank you all very much. And the kids and adults are very excited.
Well, I have one more thank you too. As you know, the county's very interested in international economic development, and we have a little committee of CEOs who are involved in international business, and the Lightning was kind enough to give us a tour behind the scenes last year, and so we're very grateful for that too. I know all those guys enjoyed that very much. I think Commissioner Oakley wants to say something, and then I'll make a motion.
All right. Yeah, I want to thank you. Looks like we're going to have something. When I grew up in this area, we didn't have hockey. I mean, that was a northern sport, and we never saw it much here. So maybe we can get some young players building up and provide some players for the Lightning. So that'd be great. And that's the way you get it started. You got to start them young and work them into it. So it's a fantastic event for them to be able to do.
So with that, I move for approval of C-42.
A motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Great.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
all so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Where are we at?
So that was it for consent. We will move on to R1 now. R1.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is introduction of amendments to Chapter 115.1 of the Pasco County Code of Ordinances. It is known as the Pasco County Ethical Campaign Practices Act. Supervisor of Elections has asked that it be amended for 3 additional statements to be added to the signed campaign practices certificate that they ask all candidates to sign before running for election. The 3 new statements are: I shall conduct my campaign openly, publicly discuss the issues, and avoid criticizing my opponent in a personal nature. I shall not permit unethical practice which undermines our system of fair elections. I shall listen respectfully to persons with opposing viewpoints and to avoid language that is insulting or inappropriate. Additionally, there is a new section that was completely new section that's to be added, 115.8. And that would prohibit the use of amplified devices to solicit the prohibition from soliciting electors entering a polling place within 150 feet. This would add the use of amplified devices that could be heard within that same 150 feet, so as not to allow that state prohibition from sort of being skirted by using amplified devices. And I did hand out a revised R1 that's mainly formatting issues and some suggestions the supervisor had made to me over the holidays. And I would ask the board to accept the proposed amendments to this chapter and direct board records to advertise the proposed amendments for public hearing on January 21st, 2020 at Newport Ritchie at 1:30 or as soon thereafter as same may be heard.
Mr. Stockton, this is an introduction, and there's no motion needed today?
No, I need a motion for it to be advertised.
Oh, you need a motion to be advertised. Any questions?
I move.
Second. No questions, no discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
R2.
R2, Ms. Sims will present for the county attorney's office.
We lost our audience for this item. There's one person.
There's one there, yeah.
Christy Sims, County Attorney's Office. R2 is a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners establishing and adopting fees for appeals, certain appeals. We already have appeals to a hearing officer on demolition determinations. We also, the board last month adopted an ordinance change that said that appeals on substantial improvement, substantial damage issues on floodplain determinations would also go to the hearing officer instead of the construction board. They're often lengthy. This is just a resolution establishing the fee. It readopts the same fee for demo appeals of $400 and adopts a fee of $600 for substantial damage, substantial improvement appeals. The vast majority of that money goes to pay the hearing officer, and for example, the hearing officer charges a flat $500 fee for substantial damage appeals. So we would ask the board to adopt the proposed resolution and authorize the chairman's signature on same.
Questions?
Good move.
That's a good thing, yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Move for approval?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, before Ms. Sims gets too far away, you heard the discussion, and I think that's the end of your regular agenda.
I have a walk-on for this.
Right. You had heard discussion this morning about the ordinance that is currently scheduled to come back for public hearing at the next board meeting in Newport Richey. I would like if the board would entertain comment from Ms. Sims so that we can make any changes to that ordinance before we get to public hearing. And so I think she's got some proposals of how to amend the registry that still implements what the board has directed us to do, but will make some of the folks who have concerns feel more at ease.
Thank you. Take me out of order. Yes, commissioners, I listened to all the public comment this morning. I've had several meetings with some of the people who are here today, as well as other commercial realtors, people representing various groups that are currently would be affected by the property registry ordinance. And after sort of delving more into the subject matter with those subject matter experts, and speaking with Chase regarding the sheriff's priorities and purposes for the ordinance, this is coming back to you for final public hearing next meeting. And I would like to, based on those conversations, suggest a couple of changes to the ordinance. The comments that you heard this morning, I can't think of any of those comments that aren't part of the changes that I would recommend. I've created a draft, so to speak, so I can talk with these stakeholders about it and try to get things right. That draft creates an exemption section, and we propose exempting apartment complexes with more than 4 units, and condominiums, and actually we are going to suggest, I advise that just based on the logistics of it, that we exempt commercial as well. I would bring you back a separate ordinance that just requires for condos, apartments, and commercial that they have a plaque that's accessible to the sheriff's office that has the contact information for a local owner or local property manager. And when I say local, you heard this morning several comments talking about property licensed, legit property management owners from surrounding counties. The sheriff, Chase, and I have discussed it, and although it may be a little bit more work to serve somebody in one of the surrounding counties, we actually believe that a separate ordinance adopting the state regulations, which requires property managers to be licensed real estate brokers, will be extremely helpful. We feel like we're going to get responses from people who actually are holding a real estate license, that they're required to have an office. And I've come to understand that one of my big problems is, and one of code enforcement's big problems is, these illegitimate, non-licensed property managers. You know, John Smith sticks an index card up in his window at the mobile home park and says he's the property manager, but he's not a licensed person. And that park is owned by an entity who's out of state, out of county, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm going to suggest in the version that I propose to bring back to you for adoption at public hearing next meeting would create an exemption section. It would exempt residential units owned or leased by federal, state, or local housing programs or by HUD. It would exempt condos. It would exempt apartments with more than 4 rental units. It would exempt commercial. Unless those apartments are marketing to transients, meaning people that are staying for less than 30 days and don't have another permanent address somewhere else. It would exempt churches. You know, churches have these lock-ins, you know, where they allow people to stay overnight. Churches that don't allow overnight stays more than 3 or 4 times a year is what I'm thinking. Commercial rental property owned by or leased to governmental units. And I've also kind of worked through most of the issues that were mentioned this morning. The trigger of 30 days and 10 days that's currently in the ordinance. It's been explained to me that that's logistically difficult, and I would suggest that we move it out to 30 days and 60 days for the trigger instead of 10 and 30. Better define vacant and what lawfully occupied means. Tweak the definition, as was suggested this morning, of property manager to require that to be a licensed real estate broker. We would make the effective date April 1st, although in speaking with Chase this morning, they're ready to go live as of March 1st, so people can kind of, you know, get the information about the link. They can go in, they can try to register and, you know, do all that starting March 1st, but the effective date of when the requirement would kick in would be April 1st. Allowing property managers from abutting counties that are licensed, as I've spoken of. And then I would bring you back a couple of follow-up ordinances. The first is I would duplicate the state law and prohibit a person from acting as a property manager without the proper licensure. And then requiring apartments, condos, and commercial to have a notice posted permanently, you know, on the building that would provide contact information for either the owner, if they're local, and local meaning Pasco or the surrounding counties, or a licensed property manager. So it kind of takes out a lot of the people who aren't really our problem. It takes out logistical issues for apartments and commercial realtors who are dealing with tenants that may come in and out, or things like that. And I think is more narrowly tailored, at least at this point, to address what is our current focus and problem. I'm actually really excited to discover that just not anybody can be a property manager. That will be very helpful to me in the context of what I do. So I appreciate the time that the representatives from the various real estate interests have spent with me, educating me on some of the aspects of what they do. And I didn't want to have this discussion with you at the final public hearing, but I wanted to tell you what changes that I'm advising that we make, either legally, like redefining things or defining things better, and get any feedback if anybody has a big heartburn about us opening it up to property managers from surrounding counties that are property licensed, or exempting apartment complexes over a certain size, exempting commercial. As long as we have the local contact that we need, I think that for right now serves our purpose and it serves the sheriff's purpose. And I'll let Chase speak to the proposed changes. So what I would do is edit the ordinance, finally distribute, to y'all, and that would be part of the agenda. It just would be a different version from what you introduced in November.
Good morning, Chase Daniels, 8700 Citizens Drive, Assistant Executive Director, Office of the Sheriff, Pasco Sheriff's Office. First of all, I want to thank Commissioner Wells for calling me this morning, and Christy for your time this morning. As Christy mentioned, we are fully in support of these changes. It gets us to where we wanted to be, and we appreciate the representatives from the various groups here today, because we certainly don't want to impose on these groups that are doing the right thing. But as I said, this does get us to where we need to be, still gives us the teeth we're looking for. And we're excited about these changes, about the additional ordinances that Christy's going to bring forward. And again, just thank you for your time and support on this.
Questions, comments? Commissioner Starkey.
Well, I was very encouraged that they're all in support of the ordinance and think we're doing the right thing. So that's nice that, that I think we're absolutely doing the right thing. And I agree with all the little tweaks. They seem very reasonable. We never wanted this to be onerous. But we want to have a tool. So thanks to everyone who came today. I think we all got some emails too, so most of them make a lot of sense.
Commissioner Wells.
Just real quick, thanks again. I know Christy has taken a lot of time, and I know you don't have anything else on your plate. And we appreciate on the Sheriff's Office, it's life safety. I think all the stakeholders would agree that's what it's about. And it is encouraging to hear everybody say they're in favor of it, and all these changes make sense. So I appreciate you taking the time to go meet with the stakeholders over and over again, to listen to them, because they're really the ones that are out there and they know the issues and the concerns and opportunities. So thank you very much.
I did have one question.
Yeah, can I just go to Commissioner Mariano and then back? Yep.
I was going to say, and I'll kind of echo the same sentiments. You guys have done a great job working together on this. Getting the feedback from the public is what we wanted. We wanted to get an ordinance with some teeth in it, at the same time not be too onerous. So congratulations on what you're doing.
Commissioner Starkey.
And it may be to the gentleman behind you, but what actually entails being a licensed property manager?
You have to be a licensed real estate broker.
Okay.
That's your license.
And so then you can just call yourself a property manager if you're a broker?
If you're a
Or
broker,
you can work
but
under a
there's
broker?
all sorts of things involved in being a broker. You have to have an actual office.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Well, my husband's a broker, but he's not a property manager. So
Right.
I just didn't know if they had to go take additional classes.
Well, if you're a broker and
Licensed real estate associates, you can oversee the
yeah,
properties.
I
You'd have to
haven't
work
delved
for a
too far
brokerage.
into this, but for apartments, for example, if there's more than 10 units, I think you have to have a CAM, in addition to being a licensed real estate broker.
Yeah, I just didn't know.
Somebody else is the subject matter expert on all that. I was just happy to find out that there was a licensure requirement at all to be a property manager, because I can assure you I haven't run into a legitimate one until I actually helped my stepson rent a house in Pasco County over the holidays. And I was like, wow, an actual licensed real estate property manager, this is how it should be.
I recall when we were going through all the work that Alan Crumbly telling me, or telling us, I'm not sure if they mentioned that at our workshop, that on all their properties, they put their management sticker and phone number, I think, on a decal on the window of the house.
That's smart.
And that's something to think about, that they should have maybe this decal or identifier on a window in the front.
So this, I think the people that are here will probably nod their heads yes on this, but I know you can't come to the front, but yes. We say a real estate brokerage is a broker that oversees the licensed real estate company, and sales associates can oversee these properties. They just have to be under a broker.
Under a broker.
If you say so.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know
That's
they can
it.
buy and sell real estate and help
Yeah.
people, but if they
Yes.
could be a licensed manager.
I've worked out
that's-
the language
Yeah.
on it.
When you take
with-
this test.
With the
there's-
experts, so,
there's some other
I just, again, I didn't want to surprise y'all with a bunch of changes next week during the final public hearing. I wanted to let you know that we've sort of scaled back, and I'm going to do some follow-up ordinances regarding the licensure and regarding posting instead of registering for some of these other things.
All right, any other questions on this before we move on? There's no motion or anything today. We're just adding,
No,
or
I just wanted
suggesting
to-
changes to the Assistant County Attorney that she will bring
Exactly,
forward at the next
I'm-
meeting. That she will bring forward at the next meeting.
Right, I'm not the policymaker. If there's any significant concerns or questions, I wanted to give the board an opportunity to express those
You don't have to
before I
motion for the change.
just go changing the ordinance that you introduced.
Nope, just making suggestions, and that's what will be more likely to come forward, and we will vote on it at the next meeting in Newport Richey. So, all right, well, thank you all.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it. I do have a walk-on from the county attorney. I need a motion to hear the emergency walk-on.
I moved.
I have a motion, and a second. No, here, give me, I need a second. That was-
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Hello, Charles Cullen, Utilities Engineering Director. We were impacted by several states entered into an agreement with a bank that they manipulated interest rates, and that particularly impacted some bonds that we received. And so what this agreement is to enter into the class action lawsuit and to receive up to $95,000 as a portion of that lawsuit.
Questions from the board? No questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Attorney.
As with any of these class actions, the cost of litigation separate and apart from the class is cost prohibitive, and likely so the county attorney's office recommends the settlement that is proposed by the court for this bond issue.
And the net proceeds were again what?
Was about $95,000, and that would be returned to the solid waste fund, since it was their bonds and their interest rate, their interest payments that were at issue.
Windfall. We can do a whole new budget with that.
Move approval.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same side. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so that is it for the regular agenda items, unless there's another one that sneaks in that I don't know about. Nope. Okay, so I'll go to our commissioners first. Commissioner Oakley, do you have anything for us today?
Yep, I've been working on some different issues that have been going on. I think you heard it again today when some of the people came and spoke publicly to us. I have an issue with our customer service in whatever department you want to choose. Sometimes it seems like the citizen is trying to get an answer, find out something about what they can do in certain areas. It keeps coming up that they can't get a hold of anybody, and nobody return an email, nobody return a call. And I have an issue with that. I think they deserve the right to be heard by our departments, and I think they need, and they have the right to have an answer. I don't think they want the yes answer that everything they're asking about can be happen. I think they just want the right answer. It's not a yes or a no answer, it's a right answer. And I think they deserve that. I think somehow, Mr. Biles, I guess we need to work on that through all the departments, because I don't think it's just one department. Probably some do better jobs at it than others, but you heard the gentleman today, tried to call somebody, guy's out on vacation. Well, we understand that, but somebody ought to be able to step in and take that call and try to get him an answer. And he's just in limbo. And a lot of our citizens are like that. I've been working with Mr. Biles and Mr. Kabala about some issues I'm having with the way some of our inspectors are working with some of our landowners and our contractors. And I take issue to the fact they don't seem to meet and work these things out. It's a problem. And it just doesn't get answered. We have, I've been hearing from some of the inspectors, we're going to have a new rewrite of the utility ordinance, only to hear that it's out for peer review, only to find out that, no, it's not still out for peer review, that there's an email by Lenny Merritt that says that the last day to comment was somewhere around the 17th of December. So that's back in-house, and I want to be sure, Ms. Biles, make sure all the commissioners get this review of that ordinance for the utilities. I want to see a red line where what we're changing, if we're changing something. And I want to work with these contractors and developers or citizens here in Pasco County. I just think we're not doing as good a job as we should. And somebody told me, oh, that's just one that wants to reach out to you all the time. But yeah, one reaches out to me a lot because he can't get answers, can't get emails back. And that's a fact. But he's searching out for the right answer so he can do the job right. I've actually gone to him and told him he needs to reach out to his own engineer of the developer. That's the way he should be going and not direct to the county, because we're not answering back. I mean, he's not getting the answers he needs. It's to the point on this one that I think that our county inspectors and utility department are actually harassing the developer. They're out doing an inspection this morning on lateral lines that wasn't called for, wasn't asked for. They're just doing it. And that was a surprise to me, and I found out this morning. But there's an email out there saying all this peer review of this new ordinance that we're going to write and present to us is coming. I heard at first it was coming to us in January, when in fact, it's not here yet, but the peer review, the stakeholder review of this ordinance and the changes that are going to happen have been completed, and I guess hadn't been put together to come to us yet. But I want to make sure before that ordinance comes to us that we're all of understanding what it will do to our development in Pasco County. I don't think we want to make it harder for people to do it. I don't think we want to make it more costly. Now, do I think it probably should be some things tweaked to be better so that we don't have maintenance issues down the road for the citizens that are going to be on those utilities? I agree with that. It should be better. But they have a standard operating procedure they call SOP. They don't come out with that standard operating. It's not written. It's just if something comes up, they use that. And most things can be decided by the inspector at the time. And I take offense to the fact that that inspector can be upset at somebody and make it tough on a developer to get a job done. And I think we're finding that in our county, and we're very busy. I think we're up 20% or so on these building permits and issues, but there's a lot going on. But I think our inspectors should be able to work with these folks and make it more, I don't mean streamline in the fact they do it wrong. I mean streamline and they know exactly what they have to do to get it right. And so we don't have these hiccups all the time on these projects. I think it's very important. So I want to make sure, Mr. Biles, that we see that ordinance before it comes back here to this board, each of us, so we know what's being changed. Because I've heard to the point it could cost developers up to 30% more cost if they tweak parameters. And I don't quite understand those. I'm not an engineer. But when you tweak them so much, then it's going to cost somebody a lot of money to get that property developed. And we're having a lot of properties developed in this county. So. But I'm very interested in better customer service throughout our system of government. So if anybody wants to speak to that, or
Dan, do you want to say anything?
Well, there's a lot of ground covered there. Commissioner.
Well, I was going to speak, but I'd like to hear from you
I mean, obviously, from time to time, you know, there's lag in customer service, phone calls and emails. I mean, that happens in a large group. But we're working constantly to improve that across the enterprise. I mean, that's something we're constantly working on across the enterprise. That's what our customer service group does. With respect to inspections and technical standards, we actually inspect development a lot less than I'm used to from my experience in other places. So, I mean, we leave a lot to the engineer record to inspect, and so that's our method of inspection, is we rely on the engineer record. In contractors' first role in a development is to go to the engineer record, not to the inspector, because we come in at certain points in the process, not the entire process. So I know the specific instance you're talking about, and there are specific things that we can talk about offline with that contractor that has some things going on there. The utility is updating their technical standards. That's normal practice. As standards change, as materials change, as products change, you go through and review and update that. Part of that is their job is to protect the ratepayer and the money the ratepayer spends with respect to current and future maintenance. And so we need to make sure that when we take over a system, that it is something to maintain for the expected life of the system. You know, we shouldn't be in on a water line or a wastewater line 5 years after installation making repairs. Or in the case, we've spent over $5 million over the last 2 years on things that were well short of their expected design life. We shouldn't be doing that. Those things should be lasting past their expected design life. And so part of that is we're looking at our standards to see where we need to tweak them to make sure we're getting the material and the products that we expect, and that we're not causing our ratepayers additional cost by accepting things that are going to require maintenance sooner than they should be based on the design standards. Now, where that is in the review process, I'm not sure. They've not come to me to brief me on the changes of that. So, you know, I think that's still, they're still taking the stakeholder input and reviewing that right now. So where that is, I don't know where that is in the timeline. I assume that would come to me before we brought it to the board.
Well, the problem I had was Mr. Kabala, he's in charge of the utility department. He didn't know that peer review was over in mid-December. Even last night, I talked to him on the phone about it. He was not aware of it. I would have thought he'd have been.
If you would have asked me, I wouldn't have known either.
Well, I can understand that, but not the man that's over that department. I would think.
Well, I mean, he's over the branch. There's a department director and then someone running that process.
Right.
You know, he's not going to know every date either.
Right.
Of everything.
Wasn't there an area in Pasco, somewhere in Pasco, somebody told me that we had a lot of maintenance issues and for utilities, whatever, back, not anything recent, but that caused a lot of issues.
I'd have to go research
Some
that.
part of the county?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again.
I'd be curious who did the inspection, because that bothers me if we had an area that was falling apart. It seems like it didn't get inspected. I think we do a pretty good job when we do go out and inspect. I just think they need to be more customer service.
Well, there was a specific instance that you're referring to with a specific contractor that we're working through some issues.
Yeah, okay.
Commissioner Wells.
Let me just start off by this, and I'm glad you brought it up, Commissioner Oakley. We have an unbelievable team. Our team does a great job. It's a few folks that make it difficult, and I can tell you, for instance, when I sit in pre-app meetings, I know it's different than if I wasn't there, and that should not be the case. And again, we have a great team. When we get involved with something, when I get a phone call, staff jumps and makes things happen. But what my concern is, what about the other 100, 200, 300, 400 companies that are trying to do business with the county that don't know to get with the commissioner, and they shouldn't have to. And again, we've got a great team. When they get to the right person, they get things done. But we are in the customer service business. All 56 lines of business, we're in the customer service business, and 99% of us get it. It's just a few bad apples. It could be inspectors, and I've been to job sites where the inspectors, it's almost like they work hard to say no. And I don't know where it starts, and the land development code side's another issue, but again, we've come a long way. Dr. Bellis has done an unbelievable job since I've gotten here with policy improvement, because it was crazy when I got here. But I guess what I'll say, and I've said it several times, is I don't want to see us get back to the recession. I wasn't here, Commissioner Starkey was, and so was Commissioner Mariano, and I know it was tough times. We had to lay people off. Our employees need to understand when somebody needs something, we work for them. That's, if people, the phone's not ringing, if people aren't saying, hey, I need you to come out and inspect, it could be a lot worse. So they need to grasp that, thank these folks every opportunity they get, and we're not always going to agree, but I think our job is to try to find a way to say yes ethically, life safety wise. We should be saying yes and thanking these developers, these small business owners that are trying to expand, not try to make it more difficult. And again, I want to be very clear, we've got a great team. We've come a long way since Mr. Biles has been here, but we definitely have room for improvement. And it just breaks my heart sometimes when folks come to me and then kind of like today, what you heard. And I don't know what happened with staff, but I'll bet you it probably got handled. That should not happen. This gentleman should have been able to get this handled without coming to us, without coming to Commissioner Mariano, because staff, he's trying to expand his business. It's going to be big, more tax base, more jobs, not to mention the west side of the county. So, but again, we have a great team. Most of our team is unbelievable, so thank you. But those ones that we have to do something about it. So,
Commissioner Starkey.
You know, I think where we really need to be mindful is when we have someone who comes to us, for example, Jeremy this morning, who's not a developer, but wants to expand, and because my sister-in-law went through this, and that we make it easy for them to understand the process and not have to go back and back and back and back. And I know we talked about having some kind of form that shows the easy steps and anything we can do to simplify it, especially for that small business owner that isn't, you know, used to the development process, I think is a good thing, so.
Thank you. I'll just jump in one thing, and I think when it comes to, we're talking about rewriting the land development code and going through that process, we do want to make it obviously more streamlined, easier for the everyday person, like you just said, Commissioner Starkey, to be able to come in and understand it, and if they have a small project, not to have to hire a land use attorney or a, you know, high-priced engineering firm to get through the process. So I think that's one of the reasons why we want to look at the land development code. Obviously, staff has to follow the current land development code, how it's written, and they have to adhere to that because that is the policy. But I know that's one of the things we're trying to work towards is you know, making it a little easier, and this board said that, right? And we gave that direction to help rewrite that land development code. And if I'm not correct, we've started that process now.
Well, and we're constantly making changes, the board's constantly making changes that improves the processes in the land development code. We do that pretty consistently, bring you amendments that would clean stuff up to make it easier to get through stuff, so make it more administrative.
But just to your point, I see what you're saying. So one more thing?
Mr. Chairman,
oh, I'm sorry.
well, just I want to finish this up.
Yeah, and I think he brings up a good point. So I got a few scenarios to discuss that is just dead on point, and one of them you saw today. I mean, literally, with Mr. Harding trying to build his insurance company going over, he gets a physical engineer to tell him, you can't go put a retention area, you're going to cause more concentration. It's had sinkhole already. And then nowhere in our code does it say we have to be stronger than swift mud, though we can be. And even though we're not there, the engineer is saying from us that you have to do this. And the engineers on his private side saying, no, we don't. It's been going on for 6 months. And I don't know if it get resolved today, but that's the type of thing we've got to kind of watch. We've got to try to find a way to help things get done based upon what's there and not make stuff up just because we don't like it. When we did the boatyard rezoning years ago in Hudson, we had like those 4 lots on the water, and the county staff says, okay, we're going to take the plats, going to switch them over so that the people can develop their own lots. They put a beautiful seawall, which again, our engineer fought us from the get-go, not matching the same height. Finally, we got through that. The seawall height is the same across the board. It looks phenomenal. First guy comes in to go build a house, goes through the steps, has trouble with some things with permitting, does a phenomenal job, phenomenal building, but he puts a retaining wall in, gets a permit for it, but separate from the other thing, and a little confusion about it, so the staff's trying to tell him, you got to take it down. And I met with him, met with staff ahead of time, didn't want to meet with the person because we're afraid of liability from my end of when I might have to testify, so I stepped out. I get back out from a call, and they tell the person that if you go get a licensed engineer to say this is okay to be safer with the retaining wall than not, we'll be okay, won't cause a run-up. He gets the engineer, the end, sends the plans in, stamps them, certified, that this is why it's safe, this is why it'll work. You don't have to worry about the run-up, it's not going to cause erosion, it's safer with it in there. And then what do we say? We're going to go hire an engineer to go study his report to go see what's going to go on. Makes no sense. We've got to get things, find a way to help people get through. And if they've got an engineer that's going to take the liability, get the thing done. Mike Malikos, in the Gulf. He comes in, well, we're going to do what we did the phenomenal job of the stormwater stuff on Clark Street. We did the repaving. That area is like just fantastic right now. The drainage works great, everything looks great. We found when we were doing that around his edge of the property, part of his parking spots were out where it lists where the roadway is, where our property is, the way the line was drawn years ago. He's been using these things for 30, 40 plus years in that business before him and after him, and he wants to go add on his building. Double the size of the restaurant, up above, all elevated water. It'll be the ultimate place to go in West Pasco to go have dinner and look over the Gulf. And he goes through the variance process for like 6, 8 months. Attorney's office grabs it and say, no, we don't want you to do that. We want you to go, instead of getting the variance, do the vacation. We do the vacation, he gets to the end point, and now they pull the right back again. No, we think it should go back to the variance thing. We don't need the property, we don't need the land. The board gave direction to go bring it back to us to come forward. We still haven't got it 6 months ago. So, you know, I know our staff's doing a great job, but we need to empower them and encourage them that, look, these permits are good, these improvements are good, let's find a way to get them done. And if there's a problem with the code of what's out there, let's go get the suggestion and bring it back to fix it. Because we know from the patchwork ordinances that were modified and modified and modified, we do have a lot of Band-Aids that are there, but there's got to be a better way to get this done. And I don't think we should be sitting on projects taking 6 months to get a project through. If we're that busy, let's get the other ones going too. And I'll give you one other thing. Hudson Avenue, Hudson on US 19. Can you imagine someone trying to come in here and put a residential business, residential lots right off of 19? Wouldn't that be a good thing? Yeah. Improve the demographics? Yeah. I got a guy who's brought back the thing twice to me. I brought it back to staff last month. Brought it to staff, let's go get a meeting set up. No meeting set up yet. So we need to get more responsive, and Commissioner Oakley, I'm glad you brought it up. We need to go. And Dan, you've done a phenomenal job, but these are the issues that are out there.
Yeah. Just one thing to add, just staff does a great job. Don't get me wrong, they do a great job. I just think we need to work fine-tuning that customer service part of our job. So I think it's very important. It stands out more because it's more visible to our citizens. So by giving them the right answer, I think if we can work toward that and making things a little smoother to work through. I'm not asking anyone to make it to where they do things wrong, because I don't want the maintenance in the future, and I want things to move through smoothly for the citizens. That's very important. Again, we do a great job. This staff does a great job. I depend on them. I depend on them to get good answers and truthful answers. And sometimes I have to wonder when some of the things come out that we see. But their staff does a great job. Thank you.
Commissioner Starkey?
Okay. So we have citizens enjoying the Starkey Gap Trail before it's open. I think it's going to be very popular, but I think we may have messed up a little bit and didn't put any trailheads on that trail. So we have folks who are lining up along Trinity Boulevard and pulling off the road there to park their cars to ride on the closed trail. So I think we need to be thinking about finding some place to put a parking lot. So I hope to meet with Keith and whomever. I don't, we haven't really defined who owns what yet, but I don't even know who to talk to at the county about working on a plan for a parking lot for park and ride on the trail. But I think we need to get that discussion going quickly. And we are planning a big celebration for the official ribbon cutting of that trail. And as you know, Ralph is on the State Greenways and Trails Council, who wants to plan their spring meeting around the ribbon cutting. We were going to try for the January meeting, but we just didn't make that in time. So I want to make sure we put a little committee together to make sure that ribbon cutting is a really noteworthy event because this connects the biggest piece of the Coast to Coast Trail, which is a major state effort to connect St. Petersburg to Titusville. And I think we should be inviting former Senate President Steve, what was his last name, Ralph? Steve, the one who put this together. He's a cyclist from the other side of the state. Yeah, Crisafoli and others to come and experience the Coast to Coast Trail. So I look forward to getting that date settled. When will you know that date, Ralph?
Our next meeting is January 22nd and 23rd.
Okay, so, all right, great. But I do think we should start talking about finding a place for people to park and also the signage. And there was a time when the tourism department had put aside money to have signage on the Coast to Coast Trail. That is every county's responsibility to put the signage up using the designated logo. And the person who's in charge of that now works over at the EDC, and I don't know who's in charge of that anymore. So I have no idea what plans we have for signage and wayfinding along the trail, and if the money is still set aside for that. So I have those questions, Mr. Administrator. Following up on the work I started when we went to Washington last year, I have continued to work on the Willowbrook Court solution, and we've had 2 state calls with the people up in Tallahassee, and we have identified some routes for funding. CDBG-DR with IRMA, their IRMA infrastructure program, the CDBG-DR mitigation funding, and a new FEMA program called Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities, or BRIC. It's a new program that state's rolling out, and they think that this could be a good source of funds and maybe a pilot program for that new program. The grant pool is expected to open in the fall of 2020. That's kind of far for people to have to wait to walk into their houses every day. So we're going to be meeting with the state officials and the Pasco EM staff again next week on another state conference call, and continue to look for the quickest solution we can find, Jack, to help your constituents there. Later today, I'm heading to the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council's Resiliency Leadership Summit. I'm having dinner with some of those people that are there. My legislative aide, Danny, is there now making notes for me, but, you know, as commissioners, especially on the coastline, something we need to pay attention to, how we make sure that at least the west side of the county is as resilient as it can be. Something kind of interesting, I keep waiting here for the follow-up, but I received an invitation. Oh wait, I have one more thing. Oh, I have asked the county attorney's office and the development office for a list of ordinances in construction and suggested dates of when they will come to us. I talked to Morgan this morning. We don't think we've received that. I think this is like the 3rd time I've asked for this, so I would like to see a list of the ordinances that each of those departments is working on and a suggested date when we will see it. And once we have this list, I think we want to talk about timelines on these things and how, if we need to tweak something to help the different departments get these through, because sometimes we start talking about something and we don't see it for years. So I'm just kind of curious where we are on some of the ordinances that are under review.
Commissioner, I can give you a list of the ordinances that are in my office. I don't have a timeline for when they're coming forward, because we're working on them. We bring one forward, we move to the next one.
Well, I think it's important that we have an idea of how long it takes.
Okay.
And also in the hierarchical, am I saying that right? Hierarchy of those ordinances, because we know we have different tiers. And so
The ones that are, and that is true of the development
Okay.
side. The ones that are in my office, it's a first come, first serve.
Okay, and I
Unless
think-
you all express that there's a priority, it's when the commissioner brings it to the board, they go on the list, we bring it forward.
All right, and I think I would like the county attorneys associated with each ordinance, because that way, if I have some dialogue I want to have that I've come across that I think is pertinent to it, I know who the right person is to talk to.
Okay.
And I guess that's, I don't know how that works in the development office, but I think we should get these like quarterly. I'd like to see these quarterly, where we are on them. Then this morning, talking to the Gulf Harbors Civic Association board members, they brought to my attention that the dock contractors are having a really difficult time, and wanted to see what we could do to help address their issues, and maybe we need to have a meeting with our building department and our code. I think it's more our building department, not the code department, because there are some big, they are having a lot of challenges, and they're very frustrated, so.
What's their problem? What's their
Well, apparently, there are no, this is what I was told this morning, but I have not checked up on it. There are no building codes for docks in the state of Florida, so I'm not sure how we're regulating that, but they have had a very frustrating time with getting their permits. And I will thank code enforcement. They went out to Gulf Harbors because we have two docks under construction right now, unpermitted, and they put stop orders on them. But I think we need to have a little meeting with the dock contractors and see what we can do to listen to their grievances. And so lastly, I received a very special invitation, and I'm waiting for the confirmation. I responded 1 hour after I got it, so hopefully I got in time because it's first come, first serve. But I will not be joining you on Pasco days because I've been invited to witness President Trump signing the China Trade Accord. So I'll hopefully be up in the Oval Office with my camera and representing Pasco, watching that that trade deal. So I'm just going to fly up in the morning and fly back in the evening, but I'm really honored to be invited to witness that. So.
Let us know how it goes. Great. Commissioner Wells.
Okay, just wanted to let you know, and I know the community cleanups we've all had in our districts has been working out great. We're going to have another community cleanup in Moon Lake the weekend of February 1st. Again, I think it's worked out great. I want to thank staff for the great job they've done to make that happen over the entire weekend for all of us. And I'm also meeting with FWC, myself, Keith, Adam, on Monday to discuss the scallop season and see what we can do to work on extending that season, because it would be nice to have a 30-day season, and I think that we've proven Pasco is resilient with the scallop population, and so I'm confident that meeting is going to go very well. And I just have to say, you know, I live off Moon Lake Road. Yesterday I was telling Dan, I'm driving and actually saw some surveyors for the Ridge Road extension. Very, very exciting. I know we've all worked very hard for many, 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 many years for that, so I'm excited to have the ribbon cutting on Monday. And if you look at I know we all got the timeline, and one thing I've been talking to Dan about, and I know it's a priority for us as a county and the school board. Catherine, I know your kids went to River Ridge. I mean, it's a life safety issue getting in and out of River Ridge. So the priority will be to have that road, you know, Town Center Boulevard connected by the start of school year for 2021, which is very important to, obviously, the principals, the kids, the parents. And I have no doubt we'll be able to get that done, Margaret and team. So anyhow, and Mr. Biles, so, but thank you. And that's it.
Commissioner Mariano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Sunday, I went to a ribbon cutting celebration, you might want to say, for the HEP apartments. They've been open for 15 years. Place is immaculate. They were doing a presentation. They had a national leader from HEPA down. They've got like 90 properties across the country. This one here was helped by the Kutzos family. They actually bought the land and kind of held onto it until they could actually make it happen. So they're very pleased with it. In listening to the presentation, they brought up a subject that was very concerning to me. And one of the things they mentioned was during a hurricane event, they've got to take those people and evacuate them because they don't have a generator that can supply them for 7 days of power, which I found very concerning. And my thinking is, it's a low-income housing project for seniors. And if they have that problem, I'm wondering if we have the problem elsewhere. So I'm having Mr. Fawcett take a look at that situation, how to get it resolved. And I will tell you, if we want to get that resolved, because these are people that, everyone says you could stay in your own home, it's the best place to be. They have to move pets. If they're on oxygen, you got to move oxygen. They got to make supplies. It makes a whole myriad of things harder for a hurricane event. So I want to try to take a look at that. You may be something coming back on that, coming forward.
Can I ask you a question on that? Independent living is not assisted living facility. Because if it's assisted living, they're required by statute to have a generator.
Yeah, I think they're independent. So
Okay.
even the independents folks.
Look into that. There may be, all right, if they're just senior apartments.
Senior apartments, yes.
Is one thing. Well, then they probably don't, they're not following that statute then. If they're really a 55 and up community is what you're saying? Or a 65 and up?
Probably 65 and up.
Okay.
I'm not sure of the age.
But if there's any medical relation, that they fall under ACA guidelines, or if they're under their licensure, then they're required to have those generators. That was written last year.
Right,
And
so
that's
this may be a little.
And we're supposed to have a plan on file from them.
Right.
Jack, I think that a great place to go for resources is to talk with Marcy and see if HUD may have some funding for something like that.
Yeah.
And we can use our contacts up at the Intergovernmental Affairs Office up in Washington to see if there's some source of funding to help low-income senior housing get generators for hurricane.
So, yep, where I was going to go, and that's kind of why I brought it out, so, good.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's see, the Port Ritchie situation, as far as the dredging goes, the canals, the project with the BP Restrike money. We've met with staff over the past couple of months. We've met with our consultant. We take a look at it. We have determined that the connection from the big stormwater pond that's on, right in the heart of Quist Drive, where that canal directly connects, that we dredged out during Hurricane Maria, to the north part, there's a pipe that connects to a drain that connects to the Gulf, so there's a connection there. Down to the south part, there's another connection where the canal comes all the way down to Miles Boulevard, goes to the south, to a ditch that goes across the street toward the Gulf, and then connects into a canal, connects to the Gulf. Down by the Gill Dog Channel, that channel itself connects directly with our stormwater system, connecting to the same whole area. So it's determined now that we know we have those connections, we know we can get the cooperative funding. It may work, it's going to work directly with the Port Ritchie Outfall project that runs from Magnolia Valley all the way out to connect the two together to get the water out to the Gulf. So it's going to take a little bit to put everything together, but it's something that is doable. And instead of just ending up with one channel with that dredging money, we're going to be able to end up with 4 or 5. And at the same time, we can also add in front of Whiskey Joe's, where there's his sandbar that's in front, wasn't part of their plan. That can get fixed. In front of Catches, there's another position there that can get fixed as well. So I want you to know we're working on this thing. It's going to take a little bit of time, but that's exactly where we stand right now. I'm going to keep on moving forward with the appropriate agencies to keep it driving forward. And we covered all the other things I was going to cover. Thanks to Mr. Oakley.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. All right, Mr. Biles, I know you have a presentation you'd like to do.
Yep, I got a couple things I want to go through real quick. One is a reminder, which I think somebody else mentioned earlier, that Pasco Day is next Wednesday, and Ralph is working on finalizing the schedule. Don't have it yet, but that's pretty normal with session starting on Tuesday. So real quick, want to go through, since this is the first board meeting since we got the permit, and I'm getting a lot of questions on milestones and deadlines, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to kind of go through the milestones real quick on this, and then with the year closing out on permitting last Wednesday, I got some permit numbers that you may be interested to see that kind of tells you what the community thinks of the economy based on the number of permits they're pulling and some of the value. So real quick, the first 3 milestones you see are the contractual milestones with our contract. I'm sorry, go back. Yeah. The first 3 are the contract milestones that are in our contract with Coin Graham. And while the date for the Town Center Boulevard says the 16th, and yes, I realize that's after school starts, we believe we will be able to get at least 2 lanes of traffic, if not all 4 lanes open before school starts, even if they're not all done and buttoned up with that section. So we're working with that. We're going to work with the school district to make sure we get that happening. And remember, those 3 milestone dates are dates where if they hit that date, there is no incentive with meeting that milestone. The bonus is daily in addition, enforce that. So these are 0 dates. So if they hit the 16th, there's no bonus. So if they beat that date, there's a bonus. So that's what these dates are. They're not the first date. So the 2 lanes to Suncoast, which also includes to the entrance to the Moffett Excalibur piece, then the 4 lanes to Suncoast, buttoned up, all done. What that does is gets us 2 lanes of traffic to Suncoast by the hurricane season in 21, which means we could contraflow and put 2 lanes one way on that in the event of an evacuation event pretty easily, because there are no really stubs to that road outside of town center. And then 4 lanes, the complete project done the following year. The next 2 milestones are based on the timelines that are in the development agreement, as well as the capital budget. 4 lanes to Sun Lake as part of the development agreement between us and Lynn Angeline, and that Moffett plays a role in. And then the 4 lanes to US 41 are based on, that's when the capital budget is funded in 23 and 24 for the final part of phase 2. So we would expect traffic to be open in late 25 on that. So I just wanted to kind of have everybody have the milestones so that you had them. And so that's kind of an update. So yes, ma'am.
Now, I understand that the first 2 lanes we're building are the north side, and because the bike trail is on, you know me, it's all about the bike trail. The bike trail is on the south side.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that correct?
The goal of that middle milestone is to be able to move traffic in the hurricane season to evacuate. The shared path will be built and finished with the 4 lanes to Suncoast. So it will be built as part of the project, but the focus for the first 18 months is to be able to get drivable lanes so that we can evacuate in 21 if we need to.
Yeah, I'm just letting the public know.
Yeah, no, yes, yes, ma'am. And it is the westbound side that we are building, so the north side of the right-of-way we were building first, because that would be the one that would be set up for contraflow anyway, so.
And I want to remind everybody again that Swift Mud, the former team at Swift Mud, had mentioned to us that we could have a trailhead at Ridge and Suncoast.
Understand.
And want to make sure that as we're doing the engineering, that we take advantage of that high-end dry property that does not have the restrictions that the rest of the park has, because that was DOT property bought separate from the Saranova tract. And then they gave it back to Swift Mud, so it doesn't have the environmental rules on it that the rest of the property has.
And we will work on that as a separate project.
Mr. Bowles, anything else?
That's all on Ridge Road. I can go through the building permit numbers,
Yeah.
or you have them?
Did you, yeah.
Just
Go
one-
ahead. I just
just
want to
one-
try to get us all done before
Yeah.
12.
Yeah, just one- just to-
Because you
just-
guys have to leave at the end of the day to go to this thing, so.
Yeah, matter of fact, I'll be leaving at the lunch break to
you
actually
are?
head to Regional Planning Council, yeah. There's a chance that if we get some developer help contributions, this could move quicker, especially towards 41, correct?
Well, the development agreement with Lynn Angeline gives them the opportunity to build it faster than what those milestones are. Those milestones are there as if the county is going to build it on our time frame. But the option for them to build to 41 is in the development agreement that they can do. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think the focus is getting the road to Sun Lake Boulevard and then getting Sun Lake Boulevard built down south. I would not go out there and tell people we're going to get all the way to 41 and 22 or 23. I think the 25 is a backstop, and if it happens earlier, great, but 25 is a backstop.
My think is the folks over at Carnarton, if they want to see that connection happen, they may try to work an agreement with us to help fund it to get it built out to there quicker.
Always
that
possible.
could happen.
Always possible.
Okay.
Always possible. There's no restriction that we can't do it faster.
Just pipeline a project, okay.
Yeah, so that's that. Real quick.
Permits.
I won't go through all the slides, just a couple points. Single-family home permitting was up 21% year over year, which, as you know, that leads to new construction valuations. There's typically a 2-year lag between when something gets a permit and when it hits the tax rolls, but this gives us an idea that the builder community thinks that the economy is still heading in the right way, because they are still pulling a tremendous amount of permits from a new single-family home construction perspective. If you go on to the next slide, I just want to pull out, these are permit values, so that's not what the homes are selling for, but you'll notice that in 19, the permit value exceeded $300,000 per permit for the first time on average. So not only are we building more, we're building higher value. Now, we can have a separate discussion about affordable housing, but this is not the time to do that. So this is good from again, they're not only just building more, they're building more expensive houses, which the builders are thinking that the economy is still going to be strong through the next 12 to 18 months. Otherwise, they would start pulling back. Correct. So that's that. On the next slide, just commercial up, almost 500 permits, new commercial last year, 7% increase, and we'll go on to the next slide because I know you have the total permits issued, almost 52,000. So for perspective, when you get a complaint, we're issuing 52,000 permits a year. So it's up 5% year over year. There's a lot of work going on. My guess is when I run the numbers on customer complaints and building construction, we're in the less than 1% range. And so we have a lot of satisfied customers out there. Now, a lot of this is remodels, water heaters, change out, AC change outs, but there's a lot of satisfied customers out there. A lot of these are online or over-the-counter permits. So, and I think that may be the last slide I have. Yeah, the one that as we start budget season, which we are starting that this week. Well, we're in the second quarter. But as you'll notice, the total value of new construction, which is that second line we get from the property appraiser, exceeded $1.6 billion last year in permit values issued in 19. Now, from a budgeting perspective, that really doesn't impact us until the 22 budget. Right. Because that's when that revenue, but for a perspective, that is what is out there that over the next 12 to 18 months, the property appraiser will be putting these on the tax rolls, and that is a new construction number we'll be seeing. So tremendous growth, tremendous confidence in the economy, not just on the builders, but also in the people doing renovations, repairs, and remodels in their own homes and commercial buildings. So a lot of good work going on. So I wanted to run the numbers because I always get asked those questions this time of year. Now you have them. Sorry. Now you have them, and you can, as you're out speaking, you can take the numbers with you. So, and we can get you the actual PowerPoint so that you can, your team can put it in your presentations when you speak places. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Mr. Steinstein.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Clerk's office.
Yes, I have something in under a minute.
I'll give you 30. No, I'm just kidding.
I probably can do it in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
We are having our 4th annual Big Shred event in our office, and that is where our citizens can come and get their sensitive documents destroyed for them for free. We do it in celebration of Data Privacy Month, so if you've got old files and boxes sitting around that might have social security numbers or bank account numbers, this is an event that you might be interested in. It's saved the date at this point, so it's January 25th in Dade City at the Robert Sumner Judicial Center and February 1st in Newport Richey, West Pasco Judicial Center. The event's going to be from 10 to noon, and at the next board meeting, I'll have more details. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just have 2 quick things too. On December 14th, myself, Commissioner Wells, were able to attend a very, very heartwarming ceremony for Major Ed Gilchrist. He received a mortgage-free home from Lennar over at Estancia. Major Gilchrist, one of our citizens here, was a pilot in the Air Force. Since recently retired. Unfortunately, I became injured and is now a quadriplegic. But he's continuing on with his education, wants to be a teacher and continue to mentor young adults. Again, very, very moving ceremony, and we're happy to welcome Major Gilchrist as a new homeowner here in Pasco County. In addition, just one more time to recognize a very important person in our community, Roger Cockrell, Detective Roger Cockrell. There was a nice ceremony for him recently with the Sheriff's Office. I know quite a few people were able to attend. I know Mr. Biles, Commissioner Starkey is able to attend. 50 years in law enforcement.
Yes.
That's amazing, isn't it? 50 years in law enforcement, 30 years in Pasco and 20 years up in New York State. So again, just very, very nice ceremony, and we wish him all the best. And from my understanding, he is going to even continue to volunteer a little bit with the SO. Yes, you had something.
And wasn't it cool that his former law enforcement partners from New York came down to be at the ceremony?
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
People traveled all the way from New York just to participate in the
real
ceremony.
surprise to him.
Yes, very nice, Mr. Biles.
Well, before you close, I want to make one more comment.
Oh, yeah, no, that's
So,
it.
yeah. What I failed to do in discussing Ridge Road was thank the project manager, Sam Bennick, and then Margaret Smith, who's here. I mean, they're the ones that did the yeoman's work to get that through. And so I meant to say that at the beginning, and I forgot. So I want to make sure I give Sam and Margaret plenty of credit for getting that done. So sorry about that.
No, that's very good. Mark, you can get back to me later. I just wanted to see if not we as a county, if the manufacturers are still behind in the arms for the traffic signals.
Okay.
I know there was a holdup with those being.
There's been a lot of,
manufactured.
we've had issues with lights, street lights too, and poles.
I just wondered,
It's a steel issue. Yeah.
There's another signal we would love to see done before the school year starts because of some of the rezoning that's gone on, and more traffic's gonna head out to in a certain area, and there's a signal that's supposed to go there sometime this year. Be great, but again, I know we can't. We can't do anything about tariffs and the steel industry.
That's
an industry
issue. But
Is
yes,
that
sir,
signal in the
we'll get
county,
you
or
an
is that
update.
a DOT signal? Which is it?
That's one of ours.
The one's ours.
One of ours.
Yeah.
It's one of ours. So you have one last?
Just one thing, I had my notes, I just kind of like skipped over, but I want to say, Animal Control is doing such a phenomenal job. The employees are unbelievable, the volunteers are unbelievable. We had a situation last week on Friday where they were holding onto a pet for a lady who had to go in the hospital and come out, and they kind of felt pressured that they had to release the pet. Turns out they didn't really have to, and the people were great. They bring the pet back. The lady was reunited with her pet, and it was just a phenomenal passion that those people felt to talk to the owner that was given the pet, and then to get the other pet back on his own. I went with him, and as well as did Tambry, but drove his own Tahoe with the pet to drive the pet to Dade City to give it to her, just to get it there as quick as we could, because she couldn't get to it, and that was kind of the problem that happened as far as people trying to help her get her pet. But I want to say, in that I found out, and I want to do a special resolution coming up, Kathy. 2012, we were at 38% as far as saving our pets. We had a goal to hit 90. We've hit save 90. We're over 90% now. So Kathy, your team, Dan, phenomenal job. That was a high reaching goal to hit. And I will tell you, with dogs, even pit bulls, we're at 95%. Wow. So I just want to give a shout out to them. We've got a phenomenal team doing great work out there.
They train Mike Schumate and the entire team. They do great. I remember when I first was elected, we were elected in 2014. From day one, I couldn't imagine the amount of emails we received from folks in the community. I don't know when the last time I got one. I honestly don't. Before it was daily. It was daily, so.
Y'all weren't here when Commissioner Larry used to bring those dogs, and I'd sit next to them. And sometimes they sat up here on the counter, especially in the other office, and when we would go down for photos, Jack, I don't know if you remember that she would bring the dogs down from the shelter. Yeah, they were in the photos. It was a thing.
Very good. With that, we're on break. Thank you.
Okay.
Isn't that cool about the life?
Yeah. Thank you. We are officially back in session. Okay. If everybody could please silence your electronic devices at this time. We'll now proceed with the public hearing agenda, starting with item P1 ordinances. Madam Clerk, do we have proof for item P1?
We do. It was published in the Tampa Bay Times, October 11th, 2019.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, I should say.
Good afternoon. Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. Before you is PDD 200039, an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, map 2-15 and sheet 20, changing from Res 3, residential 3 dwelling units per gross acre, to OF, office, on approximately 12.81 acres. Today, we're asking you to adopt the proposed comprehensive plan amendment, amending the future land use, CPAL 1915, and we're asking you to do that by roll call vote.
Any questions for staff at this time? Okay. Applicant?
Denise, behind you.
Sorry.
Good afternoon, Katie Cole, representing the applicant. We are happy to answer any questions, but concur with all the information that's in the staff report.
Seeing none, this is a public hearing. I do not have anybody signed up this time. Would anybody like to speak to this item? Seeing none, it's the board.
Move for approval.
Second. It's a roll call. Have a motion and a second?
Yeah.
Okay. District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano. District 2, Chairman Moore.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Moving on. This, I need to read. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to
Yes,
read the procedures?
I would like you to do that.
There are two rezoning
I was getting there. You're quicker than me.
There are two rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there is no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual, or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or Planning Commission recommendation, or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning, may at this time request the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code.
Thank you. If you're here to speak to these items, please stand up and be sworn in by the clerk.
Okay. Please, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
All right, today we have 9 public hearing items on the consent agenda. These items will be approved with one vote without a presentation unless there is someone here to object. Items P6 to P14 are on the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have proof?
Yes, sir. Would you like proof on all the
Yes,
items at
ma'am.
once? Okay. So, starting it for P6, or would you like?
Yes.
Okay. Item P6 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on November 8th, 2019. Item P7 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on November 29th, 2019. P8 was published in the Tampa Bay Times November 29th, 2019. P9, Tampa Bay Times, November 29th, 2019. P items 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 were all published in the Tampa Bay Times on November 29th, 2019.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Hernandez, you may begin.
Sure. Item P2 is PDD 20 CU 11, Hachka and Mursad Huchevich. This is going to be a request for continuance to the January 21st, 2020 BCC meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richie.
I have a motion to continue.
Move to continue?
Second. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
P3, PDD 20-0113. It's for Coastal Landfill Disposal of Florida for a mining operating permit and conditional use permit amendment. This is a continuance request of February 18th, 2020 BCC meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richie.
Motion to continue, anybody?
Move to continue?
Motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you. P4.
P4, PDD 200206, Large Scale Comprehensive Plan Amendment, CPAL 1916, Little Lake Thomas. This is a request for continuance to February 18th, 2020, BCC meeting, 1:30, Newport Richie.
Move to continue?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to continue. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you. P5.
PDD 207352, Paul Materials, MPUD. This is a request for continuance to a date uncertain.
Move to continue.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to continue this item. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed,
Aye.
same sign, motion passes to continue. And P6.
P6 PDD 27443, 54 Crossings MPUD Master Plan Unit Development, Colwell Avenue Properties. 4, this is a rezoning from an MPUD Master Plan Unit Development District to MPUD Master Plan Unit Development District to allow 152,895 square feet of professional office on approximately 22.16. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions from both the Planning Commission and the Planning and Development Department.
Hold on.
That's the consent.
Yeah, I know, I was just waiting for whatever that was to go away. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none, leave it on consent.
P7 is PDD 27450, Cruson Douglas LLC. It's for a change in zoning from AC Agricultural District to an AR5 Agricultural Residential District. This comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission and the Planning and Development Department.
Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent.
P8 is PDD 27451 in the name of Duke Energy Florida LLC. It's a change in zoning from an I1 Light Industrial Park District and a PUD Plan Unit Development District to an I1 Light Industrial Park District. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none.
I just wanted to make a comment.
Do you want to pull it?
Nope. Can I just make a comment?
I guess so.
And who's here from our, if Terry's here, but we had talked about actually taking this whole area and doing an industrial overlay rather than having each parcel come here independently. So, because there's no doubt that that's what's going on there. So I'd like to make sure that we move that forward and do a county-initiated project there rather than have each individual parcel come in like this.
Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent.
P9 is PDD 27452, Word of Life Fellowship LLC, Inc., change in zoning from AC Agricultural and AR Agricultural Residential Districts to an AC Agricultural District. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent.
P10 is PDD 27453, Taylor and Sue Simpson. It's for a change in zoning from an R1 Rural Density Residential District to a C2 General Commercial District. It comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Anybody here to speak to opposition or in opposition to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent.
P11 is PDD 27435, Ellis CC MPUD, Connected City Master Plan Unit Development, Cedric Ellis. This is a rezoning from an AC Agricultural District to a CC MPUD, Connected City Master Plan Unit Development District, to allow 400 residential dwelling units, multiple family townhomes on approximately 73.36 acres. 106,817 square feet of office, medical office, hotel, accessory non-residential uses, and/or any primary target industry on approximately 4.02 acres. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent.
P12 is PDD 20 CU 12, 315 Hialeah LLC, Evergreen Plaza, for the sale of alcoholic beverages, beer and wine on premises consumption in conjunction with the operation of a retail plaza with outside seating area and service of alcoholic beverages in a covered courtyard in a C2 General Commercial District. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions from the Planning Commission and the Planning and Development Department.
Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent.
P13 is PDD 200190, Chapel Crossings, MPUD Master Plan Unit Development District Development Agreement. And this is an amendment to the development agreement between Pasco County and Thornwell Associates LLC in connection with the development of Chapel Crossings Master Plan Unit Development. a master planned unit development district consisting of 431.29 acres approved for 1,100 residential units, 175,000 square feet of retail commercial uses, and 50,000 square feet of office. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions from the local planning agency and the Planning and Development Department.
Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent.
Item P14 is PDD 20-0261. On this item, you're authorizing transmittal of the proposed comprehensive plan amendment, and that's for Mango Hill CPAL 1902, large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use maps 2-15 and sheet 14, changing from ROR, retail office residential, Res 3, and IL light industrial to Res 12, residential 12 dwelling units per gross acre.
Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent. That is it for the consent agenda?
And that's it for the consent agenda.
Okay, good job. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move approval for all
Motion
consent
to approve
items.
consent items.
Second.
Number 2.
I have one question, and I was just double checking. but
Discussion.
I think one of them is in my district and not District 5. I was just going to it. And that is P12. Just making sure.
I don't know.
Coventry Drive?
Coventry Drive.
I'm trying to tell. but I-
We'll research and
We'll
and
double
correct.
check it and correct
Okay,
it if
so
we need
just
to.
for the record.
For the record, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion passes. P15. Our last and final of the day.
Hi, good afternoon. Patrick Dutter, Planning and Development Department. This is the Bell Lake MPUD, PDD 27448. This is the location map. You'll see it's at the intersection of Bell Lake Road and Alpine Road. It's just a mile east of Land O'Lakes Boulevard. So Land O'Lakes Boulevard is off this way. So this is the current zoning of the parcel and surrounding the parcel. You'll see it's mostly lighter dense zoning on the northern side. There's MPUD to the south and MPUD further to the east as well. The future land use in the area is all Res 6 out there. So as per the applicant's request, proposed is a request for rezoning for an R1 rural residential zoning district to an MPUD master plan unit development district for the development of 27 single-family detached residential units. So this is the master plan that's being proposed. I'm going to leave this up just to talk about the, one second. Just talk about the finding of facts. I'm going to leave this up because it's probably a better tool to use to speak to it. So the site is approximately 9.468 acres of vacant unimproved land. Of that, 7.93 acres is upland and 1.52 acres is wetland. The applicant is proposing 3.40 dwelling units per developable acres. The applicant proposes the main access to the subject property shall be off Alpine Road. So that is right out here. And you can see Bell Lake is down here. And just an FYI, they are required to put a turn lane on Bell Lake Road as well. The project is located in the central market area. It's just outside the boundary of the urban service area. So the urban service area is on the southern side of Bell Lake Road. So this item was, let me get to it. So the item was heard by the Planning Commission on November 21st. The item was pulled from the consent agenda as there were public comments. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended denial with the justification that the proposed development, specifically the lot sizes, were not compatible with the surrounding area. After the Planning Commission recommendation, the applicant has increased the lot sizes from 35-foot lots to 40-foot lots, as well as further restricted the project from the original 32 dwelling units to 27 dwelling units. Staff continues to recommend approval for with the project for the following reasons. One, the existing future land use classification out there is Res 6. As the area calls for a density much higher than what the applicant is proposing, staff feels the transition of density is appropriate within this area. And second, in an effort to provide a buffer between the existing larger lot residential homes and the proposed lots, a conscious effort was made to cluster the new lots closer to the rights of way, so of Bell Lake and Alpine Road. away from the existing lots up there. And again, the purpose was to create a natural buffer of existing trees. There's a Category 3 wetland there and the new stormwater ponds. So PDD recommends approval. I believe the applicant has a PowerPoint as well that they'd like to go over, and I'm available for any questions if anyone has anything.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
could I read the proof into the record, please?
Please do.
For item P15, it was published in the Tampa Bay Times on November 8th, 2019. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. So, the applicant has a presentation. Now, let me just state this real quick too. I don't have anybody signed up for this item. Is there anybody in the audience, because all I see is staff, and 2 other applicants, that is going to speak on this item? Just so I'm aware. Okay. So you were given extra time. I don't know if you need your extra time, because I don't see anybody here speaking opposition right now. But that's totally up to you.
We'll keep it in a very concise version, if I may. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Administrator and Clerk, Todd Pressman, 200 2nd Avenue South in St. Petersburg. I'm here today with Eric Swanson. Eric is the land manager for AMH Development, and again, we'll keep this on a concise basis. Critically, what I can tell you is that we did respond back from the Planning Commission and a couple neighbors that were there. I did notice over 90 neighbors, and by my memory, we only had 2 at the meeting. So we did reduce this from 32 to 27. We also increased the lot width, which were the 2 major issues. This is a development that's designed for workforce housing and families. And I think critically, it's far below the land use category. Land use category allows Res 6. We come in much lower than that. Your staff's done a good job of orienting you. We are bringing it in now with the 27 units. You can see the entire area is Res 6. So we're coming now at 2.85 units per acre. There is, to the west is Bell Harbor, which is R3 units per acre. To the east is Sable Ridge at 4 units per acre. This is the product. I'll just introduce quickly to Eric. Eric will talk just for a minute about the development.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, as Todd mentioned, my name is Eric Swanson, land manager for AMH Development. I just want to orient myself to this doohickey here. Yeah, so these are front elevations of product. Specifically, it's 30-1859. It's actually a strong representation of what we'll have programmed at this site. Here's another front elevation of a larger product, which is just shy of 2,400 square feet. And here's another representation as well. Am I doing this right? Am I going forward? All right.
In regard to no opposition here, Mr. Chairman, we'll be happy to answer any questions and be happy to provide more information if the commission so needs.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for the applicant at this time? Seeing none, is there anybody here to speak to this item? I'll ask once again. Okay, it's back to the board, actually back to staff. Do you have anything else you would like to close with? Okay.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner.
Pardon me? Okay, with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.
I just want to say I got in, and so I'll send you pictures.
Excellent. Good job.
Next week.
Yeah, that's great.
Working on my ticket, up and back, same day.
Did you just buy the ticket? No? Did you buy the ticket?
Well, more.